Welcome to Stay Sparked. On this show, we explore how to stay inspired in the modern world through the most profound lessons from Burning Man, relationships, entrepreneurship, psychedelics, spirituality, travel, and more. On today's episode of Stay Sparked, we talk about food and the journey of eating well.
We talked about some of our poor early life habits and some of the ways that we made better habits.
Also, how do we create healthy habits for ourselves and discipline early in life so that we can pay off for our future selves?
Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Stay Sparked. We are three longtime friends who've been inspiring each other for over a decade. We come here with a topic, not really sure where we're headed, but we're excited to get to know each other around these topics and share it with you. Thank you for listening. And if you've been enjoying these, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Share with your friends. Let these sparks travel into the world. I'm Halcyon.
And I'm Betsy.
And I am Janus.
I am the host of the Hug Nation YouTube channel and do the Pink Path group coaching program.
And I'm a holistic healing arts practitioner and the founder of the Power Affirmation Project, teaching life skills for sustainable happiness.
And I am the founder and CEO of NuWorld Nutritionals, a nutritional supplement company designed with products that are intended to improve and elevate your state of mind.
Nice. And we like to start off with a little gratitude before we get into the conversation. Betsy, what are you feeling grateful for today?
Well, I am just going to share my gratitude for you guys. I'm so grateful to be here on Stay Sparked. We started this off as kind of an experiment at a gathering. We talked about maybe we should start recording some of these inspiring conversations we're having. And now here we are 20 plus episodes later and the sparks continue. So I am feeling super grateful to get to be here with you guys and for this beautiful unfolding journey of Stay Sparked.
Here, me too. Janus, what are you grateful for?
Feel that, Betsy. Thank you. I am in this moment grateful for my partner. She, as some listeners know, and a lot of my friends know, we are expecting a baby in around November. And so yesterday being Father's Day, I was treated to my first official Father's Day, and she loved me up properly and served me bed, and we just had a great day together. It was really nice, and so yeah, I'm feeling the love for her. She's great. So gratitude for her.
Yay!
Aww,
You deserve it.
Makes me happy. My gratitude this week is also in the Father's Day theme. I'm grateful I got to enjoy my dad's company as he showed me what he does now in retirement, which is as a docent, sharing the flora and fauna of the Torrey Pines Reserve, and got to go on a nature walk with him. And then later I got to get a video call from Asher, my bio son, and get some silliness and smiles and laughter with my boy. So just a lot of Father's Day gratitude in a very special way for me yesterday.
I love that.
And today we are gathered to talk about food. Food is something that it's a part of our lives. It has been from day one. I'm continually amazed at how I can shovel in absolute crap into my body and it seems to be able to handle it and continue functioning. But as we grow and kind of learn about our bodies and life more, I think we start to learn more and more what is advantageous, what makes us feel good, what doesn't make us feel good. And so I'm eager to get into this with you guys and kind of share what we've learned, what works and what doesn't work with us. And as we start, I'm curious if you can look back and think of some thing you ate or some food pattern that you have that you look back now and just go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to do that.
Yes, I know. I definitely have one. So I remember a time in my life when I was in college and I was pretty much living on ramen. Which, I mean, I think that's probably pretty common for a lot of college students. I was just eating ramen all the time and didn't really consider the importance of vegetables. And I was just eating frozen chicken that who knows where it came from. It came by the pounds and pounds bags, kept that in my freezer. And now I look back, I'm like, no wonder I didn't do so well in school.
I can remember when I first was able to shop for myself for food. Because initially, when I went to school, I was on a meal plan, and then I moved into an apartment and was shopping for food for the first time by myself. And my fridge was stocked with grape soda, and my cupboards were stocked with Lucky Stars. Now, Lucky Stars is the
Mm.
generic version of Lucky Charms, and grape soda to me, it has to be generic grape soda because the Welch's, the name brands, they try to taste like grape, but the key is it's supposed to taste like purple. And so just like this horrific sugar water and in my mind, I just didn't, it was liquid. And so what did it matter? As long as I was getting liquid into my body, did it matter if it was water or not? And I would literally I would exercise and I would just drink grape soda afterwards. And it wasn't until I finally, someone suggested that maybe I should drink more water. Like I stopped grape soda and immediately my complexion changed, like my skin changed. I was like, oh my God, it does matter what you put into your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I want a sip
Yeah.
of purple.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
it's funny. That's in the that's a kind of a staple in the Black community. Is growing up with purple Kool-Aid. It was never wasn't great. It was purple Kool-Aid. There was three flavors. There was two flavors really. It was purple and orange, and I guess red. Also, red was kind of a thing. Yeah, but yeah, it had to taste like purple. Yeah, if it tasted too much like grape, it was like, what's wrong with
Yeah,
this?
I'm with
So,
you.
like, I feel that. So, yeah, for me, yeah, growing up, our family did not pay a lot of attention to, quality of food. So I frankly didn't get a lot of great food growing up, except for like Thanksgiving and such when more family members would come in. And early in my adult life, moving into college and such, I got into uh, competitive bodybuilding for like pretty early in life. And you have to pay a lot of attention to the food that you're eating and the quality of the food. So I actually got much earlier than I might have. I got a kind of the download and shifted into, okay, I need to pay attention to what I'm putting in my body. And that helped a lot for sure. That definitely got me on the right track. And I would kind of fall off that track, often throughout adult life. But during that time, I did learn a lot about how certain foods affect the body and what energized and what took away energy. And so that actually got me inadvertently kind of set up pretty well as an adult. I did look at food as fuel. So I didn't turn, there's becoming a foodie and really enjoying food and presentation and taste and texture and flavor. That came much later because for quite a while I was like, food is simply fuel for me to do stuff. And so I didn't pay that much attention to taste and flavor and such until later in life.
When you were in the bodybuilding, did you have to just like force yourself to eat as much as possible?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it had to be like quick too. So there was like, whatever allowed me to make things the quickest and then woof it down. Yeah. It was constantly like 5,000 calories a day, often more. And so it was like, okay, what's the fastest way to like make chicken so that I could eat it quickly? Boil it, boiled chicken, which is as tasty as it sounds, but it got the job done. So yeah, that was a lot of a lot of tasteless food, or not as flavorful food.
Wow. Wow, that's really fascinating. I'd love to see some pictures of you those days. Wow. What an amazing experience to get to learn to like see the direct impact that food is having on you in that way, watching how your body changes depending on what you eat. I was in the opposite because at those times I was also working at restaurants. And so I would just eat the restaurant food. And I remember working at Olive Garden and I was like just obsessed with fettuccine Alfredo. Like, I'll just eat this every day. I would say there was a good couple of years that my diet was primarily white. White noodles, white sauce, white food, white, not a whole lot of color. And French fries, and I didn't really understand how it was changing my body until all of a sudden I was like, putting on weight and I was not so clear in my thinking and I just, yeah, felt heavy. And I'm so grateful to now be where I am. I've learned so much on the journey of recognizing I need a rainbow in my diet.
Hmm.
It's interesting how like there's so much of the awareness of nutrition and food that I got growing up that has since been shown to be problematic or downright false and wrong. You know, like the food pyramid with, you know, how many servings of wheat and carbs that you need to get, you know. So I grew up thinking things like pizza and bread were healthy. I mean, you need to have a bunch of those servings every day, you know. So I still like I have these old patterns in my mind of identifying bread as, you know, a thing I should be eating. I should be eating. I'm like, wait. Now I know that it's no different than eating sweets if I'm eating, you know, a bunch of bread and carbs. But I just had no idea.
Yeah, I know. I feel like the system that we learned in really did not set us up for the most success. And these days, there's so much more research and science that shows how different each of us are and how we all need different amounts of different nutrients to be able to navigate from the highest and most beneficial way. You know, one of the things that I feel has been really insightful is food sensitivities. Because, you know, back in the day, I always thought that if I was allergic to a certain food, that it would either give me a rash, make me sneeze, or like make my throat itch. You know, I never considered that a food sensitivity could be something like brain fog or, you know, these other kinds of things that just didn't feel like mood problems and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until I actually did an elimination diet that helped me to start to see. So, an elimination diet, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically simplifying your diet for a period of time and then slowly reintroducing certain foods and then tracking how the body responds to the reintroduction of these foods. And it was so insightful, so powerful. It changed the way that I operate and eat now on a huge level.
Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to discuss that with you guys around diets, like the first time you like followed a diet, and you know what your experience is of that. So, Betsy, talk about the elimination diet. I think the first thing I did was that eat right for your blood type diet. So, like, depending on your blood type is going to determine what sort of diet you follow. And me being A type, I'm according to this diet plan, I'm supposed to be a vegetarian, and that just struck me. And this is during my like bodybuilding like days, so but more towards the tail end, where I felt like, okay, well, maybe maybe I can try that and see how it works. So followed a vegetarian diet for about 30 days, and just within a few days of starting it, I felt like Superman. Like I felt like just my energy levels shot up. I was bounding out of bed early and just felt great throughout the day by taking in just like plant protein and following that no animal diet. I kind of got rid of milk and everything else, and I felt fantastic. And after 30 days, the thing that I missed was just that chewing sensation of like the ripping into like a steak or something like that. That's the thing that I kind of missed. So it did work for me, but yeah, and I'm glad I did it. And ultimately, I don't feel like a vegetarian diet works for me, so I kind of stopped it maybe before. I didn't take it as long as I probably could have, but I'm glad I did it. Learned a lot about my body as well. So it's I don't have no regrets around that.
That's awesome. Yeah, same. You know, I had an experience with going vegetarian for some time. Maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to try this. I feel I care about animals. And if I care about animals, then maybe I should, eat more mindfully in that way. And so, in those days, I didn't really know about supplementation around plant proteins and that sort of thing. So I just started, not eating meat. And after about 2 months or so, my period stopped. And then I carried on not knowing there's a correlation, and it stopped for about 6 months. And so I went to a doctor, and it was a Tibetan doctor. And we did all these tests, and he looks at me and he goes, you eat meat, I'll take the karma. So sure enough, I went ahead and got a burger the next day, and right away my period and cycle started. And so it was really insightful for me to be able to recognize that I do need to eat some meat from time to time. And so I've come to, eat meat at specific times within my cycle as a woman and somebody who has, been anemic at different times in my life. Those animal proteins really are helpful.
Wow. I was a vegetarian for 25 years, and then at the urging of some people who were concerned about my complaints of mental struggles, they suggested I introduce some animal protein, and I did find that I had a brain fog that I was not aware of until I added animal protein, and then it did go away. And so I do feel more comfortable and feel like my quality of life is better if animal protein is a part of my diet right now. I mean, I wish that wasn't the case, but in my spiritual goals, it is finding that sweet spot between personal sacrifice and quality of life and minimizing harm but not doing no harm. So we will trade some barbecue recipes after the recording.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like on the topic of meat, I feel like what I've also come to really learn and realize is that there is options to find good sources of meat, because I feel like some of my moral concerns around eating meat was because of the industry was so horrific to some of these precious beings. And so to be able to eat meat more locally sourced, or making sure it's organic, and just eating it from time to time, not every day, for me, that makes me feel better. I actually love this term. Have you guys ever heard opportunivore?
Oh yeah.
No.
Opportunivore is like, okay, well, I don't tend to cook meat very often or buy it, but if it comes to me and I know where it's from, then I'm gonna jump on the opportunity to have some.
Hmm.
My
Yeah,
first
that
So my first meet after my long stretch was at Burning Man. A campmate offered me, asked if I wanted to have some bubble gum, and he handed me out a plate of meat, and I was very confused. He said, "Oh, bubble gum was the name of the pig that my sister raised from a piglet, and then we slaughtered it, and so this is some bubble gum." And I was like, "Oh!" And I checked in, and I was like,
Whoa.
"Yeah, okay, that's within my rules. Okay, let's do it." Yeah.
oh funny, funny. Now I don't think that we're intending to come on today and like advocate for like meat. Like you got to eat meat, people. So if that's your so anybody listening, if that's your thing that you are a strict vegan or vegetarian, I think speak for all of us. We all support that. That's fine.
Absolutely.
Go with what you know and go with what works. So, regarding the term opportunivore, I was like, I read a couple articles and essays where they're writing like there's actually every animal in the animal kingdom is an opportunivore. There are like we have ideas like there's some animals out there that are vegetarian. They only eat berries. They only eat like leaves or this any other thing. There are this essay actually linked to video of koala bears eating like snakes, small snakes. A deer was eating a snake. A deer was eating a squirrel. Like that, all these videos of animals that we think of as like staunch vegetarians or vegans eating other animals or eating other living creatures because that if that's available, that's what I'm going to eat. That is the prevailing like mindset of literally every animal in the animal kingdom.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, they'll like they're traditional vegetarians or vegans, but there's a little bug there. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat that. So
Mhm.
so that describes literally every animal in the animal kingdom. So if we want to be vegan or vegetarian, that's fine. I support that, but that's a moral choice. Totally fine. So enjoy your leaves.
So I have in addition to like the dietary choices, one thing I struggle with is some of the sensations of food. You mentioned Janus about the chewing feeling, and like there's certain crunching, gulping, swallowing things that like if I'm super mindful about my diet and I try to eat as best as possible, I still like I really crave these certain like sensations. And so there's some things that
Mouthfeel.
yeah. And so like I'll look at the thing that I should eat and I'm like, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. But I have a few like substitutes that help that I was going to just share. One is um, like I love chips and I will just go to town on a bag of chips. In fact, any bag of chips to me is single serving. So it doesn't matter how big it is, I will keep eating. But like I will sometimes just chop up a bunch of cucumbers or celery sticks because it is nowhere near as satisfying, but I can kind of trance out in those moments when I would just like shovel chips in my mouth and I can shovel cucumber slices in my mouth or celery sticks in my mouth. And then at the end of my zoning out period, I feel much better. You know, I don't have that, oh gosh, what have I done feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're finding ways to fulfill your need for mastication because we all need that,
Wait, what's the
right? It
topic
is a
today?
part of
Oh,
our
mastication. Yes, sorry.
mastication. That's
Sorry.
another show we could talk maybe on the behind the scenes. Mastication is something that's so important to us. And there's a book, if I don't know if you guys have read Breathe by James Nestor,
Never heard
but
of it.
there's this really, really great book, and there's a section in there that talks about how chewing is a very important part of our body's alignment process. And there has been research that has shown how about 300 years ago, when food preservation became more popularized, there was less chewing, right? Because everything got softer in cans and in jars. And so, therefore, our skulls got smaller, and therefore the nasal cavity got smaller, which then created more constriction in the breathing, and sleep apnea and sinus issues became a problem because our skulls started to shrink. And so chewing, like, on meat or like stalks of kale or celery, or yeah, there is something in there that is really actually helpful for our breathing. It's really fascinating. If you guys haven't read it, I highly suggest it.
Nice. So we turned into a bunch of pugs. Is the
Yeah. There's
cult.
even something called mewing. Mewing is like a technique that you can do with your tongue and your mouth and your palate that helps to expand your nasal cavity to help to open things up because we're doing a lot less chewing.
Well, I fell for the Facebook ad for the little chewing device. So I bought the little thing that's
Mhm.
supposed to make my face and skull look cooler. But
It's
I think,
working.
yeah,
If
thank
anyone's
you.
watching the video, it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, that texture, the texture thing, I think is an important thing to kind of examine for a lot of people, because there's like the reason I don't like eggplant is simply because texture. When I get it in my mouth, it's just like I just spit it. I just can't do it for whatever reason. And there's a few foods like that, but those foods are and often are some veggies or some sort of food that is ultimately like good for me. So I'm like, all right, so I got to find another way to get those those nutrients out of there that comes in a different texture of food. And something that actually helped me with let's say consuming alcohol. There was a point in my life where I was like, all right, I need to get I had a problem with drinking, and so I was like, all right, I need to take a break. And what I found was that if I replaced that with other carbonated beverages, that got me to be like that satisfied me on a visceral level, like just a carbonated soda or kombucha or something like that. That just got me drinking carbonation. It was like, oh, I'm feeling satisfied. It wasn't the alcohol buzz, but it was the experience of it without the alcohol. And that actually helped a lot for me to feel satisfied at the end of the day, to be like, yeah, I don't need to drink. It's like having the beer drinking sensation without the beer, and another texture experience, kind of mastication kind of thing, in the same feel that helped me a lot to kind of stop drinking for a while.
Mm. I love that. I think what you guys are both talking about, whether it's, shifting from chips to vegetables or alcohol to bubbly waters, to be able to catch those hooks of things that we know are not necessarily the best for our systems and bodies and efficiency. And so to be able to know how to do that, it's a whole other practice, right? Because it's like same thing with like we were talking earlier about sweets, or like I wanted a cupcake. I was like really wanting a cupcake, and I was like, well, I'll just go get a gluten-free vegan cupcake and feel better about it. But it's like, it's not really as good. It was good, but it wasn't as good as an indulgent, so it really does take willpower and devotion to wellness to be able to make those healthy choices. And I think it's every day is making those choices.
Oh man, are we going to talk about sweets? Because I'm coming to you defeated. I have such a hard time with my sweet tooth, especially if I get, once I can, if I eat sweets today, I want some more later. I want more tomorrow. The few things have been really helpful to me in dealing with it. One is the Huberman podcast did a thing about serotonin and recognizing, knowing what's happening in my brain for that second cookie, knowing that my desire for the second bite is it's me dealing with the dip. I'm having the joy of the cookie, and then it's the pain after the cookie that is my body interpreting that as, let's take have another one, have another one, have another one. And so knowing that that dip is going to happen no matter what, even after the fourth cookie, sometimes can help me say, stop now, stop now. I'll say sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah, and all that research too about candida as well. I got to go down that rabbit hole for some time because we all have some candida and sometimes it's overactive. And some of the things I've learned about it is that it can actually create cravings because it feeds on that sugar. And so it goes into a signal in our brain that says, "Ooh, I want sugar. I want sugar. Oh, I have a sweet tooth." And it's like, oh, okay, is that actually something I need? Or is that like a bacteria in my body that is, you know, prompting me to eat more sugar?
I think that is such a
So,
huge awareness too. You realize that, okay, I feel like I want this cookie, but actually there's these other beings inside me that want that cookie. And so they have tricked me into wanting it. They have adjusted my brain so that I want it. Um, Now, does that make it so I don't want it? No, but it does, I think, kind of frame the choice in a little bit different way. I will say, Betsy, that you deciding not to feed your candida is very human centric. I do think it's very bigoted of you of not to think of yourself in front of these poor creatures inside you that are needing cookies.
no, I should be way more compassionate to those candida, those jerks. Ugh. Internal battle. I really work on self-love. I know it's like something I promote, but I actually have a little struggle.
Screw that candida. Nobody invited them. They just decided to show up and try to hijack the party. It's not what's happening. No, out,
Yeah.
out. So,
Kale.
yeah, that Huberman podcast is something that I have actually dialed in myself into the last few months, and I've been recommending it to all my friends because this really, frankly, changed my life a lot in the last few months. And I've gotten kind of a reminder that these cravings and these desires for specific kind of foods, there's chemical reasons for that. It's not just, these are not emotional choices. There's something chemically happening within us that is making us want to do these things. And if we just can kind of jump on it early in the day and kind of set ourselves up, it makes a world of difference in how the rest of our day unfolds. Like I've been waking up in the morning and taking electrolytes first thing in the morning, and then going on a walk and getting some sunlight in my face and so on and so forth, followed by a cold shower, and then warm shower, and then finish up. It's important to start cold and then finish cold. And I'm only in it for 30 seconds at a pop. But by the time I'm done with all that, it's 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and I'm feeling great, and my desire for sweets has plummeted as a result. And I have a pretty big sweet tooth. And I've been pretty good about when I have a sweet tooth, my choices for sweets are fairly healthy. I like ice cream, but what I'm eating is acai sorbet, which kind of gets that. it's sweet, but it's not nearly as sweet, and it's got a lot of antioxidants and things like that in it. So it's a better choice than just straight up, cow milk ice cream, or even like coconut milk ice cream, which is preferred actually. So, but my desires for that are really low these days, and it's really just recently because of the choices I make in the morning. So it's really just starting your day off with success will absolutely determine how the rest of your day goes.
Yeah, I feel like um, I have been allowing myself some ice cream lately, to the point that the people at the local liquor store kind of recognize me as coming in for my. Luckily, they stock the dairy-free Ben and Jerry's at my corner liquor store, and so I'm like one of those regulars that comes in to just get a fifth of booze, except I just come in and get a pint, one at a time, because if I have two, I'll eat two. But I've been I've been really trying to do so consciously and saying, I am going to enjoy this. I am going to indulge in this. There's a lot of things I'm doing in my life right now that I am being very disciplined about. And so that I can have this experience, enjoy this pleasure, and not just be just totally racked with guilt afterwards. However, there is, and I'm sharing this partially because like I'm struggling with some food choices lately. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because in terms of my discipline and my choices, I've been doing a lot of end of the day eating more than I would like, if I was choosing, and I'm ending a lot of my days full, which then affects my sleep, which then affects the way I feel the next morning. And in that aspect of being very full, it's also affecting my ability to listen to my body. One of my goals in sobriety has been trying to be more in touch with feelings and my body. And so I become more aware of the things that block that, or at least the things that turn up the volume. Like if I'm amped on caffeine, that's all I notice. I can't feel other things that are happening in my body. And if I'm full and I feel like slightly in pain and icky because I'm so full of food, that's such a loud message. I don't hear the other things that are going on. So these are the parts I'm trying to shift in my brain away from that. Oh gosh, that's going to taste so good. You're going to be so happy during those 7 minutes. But then trying to bring into that choice the awareness of all the things that I'm missing.
I hear you. Yeah, it's a journey of discipline and finding those places where you can just keep refining. And, one of the sparks that I'd love to share in regards to that feeling full is I learned when I went to this 10-day silent meditation retreat, the Vipassana, around filling our bellies 3/4 of the way and watching how that changes how we meditate. And so it's, 45 minutes for lunch, and this very strict schedule for 10 days meditating and eating, and that's pretty much it. And they recommended doing that 3/4, fill your belly 3/4 of the way, and then, come back into your meditation and then just notice what happens. And so I got to play around with that and practice. And some of the days I would fill myself all the way because the food was so good. And then in my meditations, I actually got hungry faster. I couldn't sustain as long as I could when I would simplify and not fill my belly all the way. And so it was a very insightful practice to notice when I started to get to that point of feeling full and then pausing there. And one of the things that I really love getting to pay attention to now is my body's signals when it's time to stop, right? There's two signals that our body gives us. One is a deep breath. You might not notice it when you're eating food, but usually there's a moment where you take that deep breath and your body is getting to that place of feeling full. And then the other is sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle, as a burp. And that's like the indicator, like, okay, we're at that threshold point. You can pause, right? And it does take determination and, energy to be able to not eat the last bit of like Thai food on the plate or the delicious food that's there or the last bit of ice cream because it just tastes so good. And so it is a continuous showing up and recognizing in the much bigger picture how this is going to impact how I move through my day. And you're also speaking to, at nighttime, feeling full before you go to bed is a, it's a beautiful experiment also to see what happens if you don't eat for 2 hours before you go to bed, right? Or eat and then go right to sleep. Notice how the sleep patterns are. Notice how you feel in the morning, right? I know for me personally, it feels way better if I don't eat for a couple of hours before I go to sleep. I can sleep all the way through the night and then I feel refreshed in the morning. And I actually notice as well, I'm hungrier in the morning if I eat right before bed. And so then it just perpetuates more food, more food, more food. And so I love this journey of getting older and getting to explore what works for the body, what doesn't work for the body, trying on new habits and things to be able to see what it really works for me.
Yeah, and that's something that is good to acknowledge, is that it becomes, the older we get, it becomes more important that we actually have to start paying attention to stuff, because we're not able to get away with, like, and I'm a big chip eater. I've been a big ice cream eater. Like, I love French fries my whole life. I would go like several weeks with eating French fries every single day. In my youth, but you come to a point where you're not able to get away with that anymore. And so it's important, the sooner we can like establish some good practices for ourselves around food, the better. There's definitely, even now, like, it took me a little like later in life to, well, I don't know, later in life, maybe mid 30s or so, before I started really being like, okay, I can't do that anymore as much as I used to do that anymore. And I'm reaping the benefits now. It took like years for that, years of doing a practice, following that practice, to be like I just saw somebody, like, I'm 55 years old, and I just interacted with a lady last week who was 66. She looked older, frankly. She looks several years older. And when she found out I was 55, she definitely had a look like, wow, you don't look 55. And I almost like saw this kind of play out in her face, like, wow, he looks so much, he's only like 11 years younger than me, but he looks 20 years younger than me. That's not crazy. So thanks to genetics on part of it, but also it's like, getting our food habits under control, or just being mindful about it, is something that benefits us. The sooner we get our heads around that, the better. So it sounds like we all have kind of gotten to that with various levels of success. And what's allowing you, Halcyon, to kind of like maintain your good habits these days, as much as you are maintaining good habits?
I was just thinking, like, this would be a good time to pause and re-listen to our habits episode that we did, because it's certainly related. One of the things that helps me is thinking about how my brain chemistry works, and how a tough decision today is an easier decision tomorrow. And so that as the first time you say no to that piece of cake, you're forging a new path in the brain, and it's really hard. But the second time, it's a little easier, and the third time is a little easier. And so every time that I do make a tough decision, I'm trying to visualize and think about and feel into that I am gifting my future self this choice. Because present moment self really wants to finish that Thai food, really wants to go to the store and get a second thing of ice cream, but future me is going to be really happy, and just over time, really be pleased by my choices. There's like, I remember seeing a fridge magnet that said, nothing tastes as good as being thin feels. And I think there's something to that, maybe not the being thin, but being healthy. Nothing tastes as good as having a healthy body and feeling good in your body feels. And so I try to lay that on top of my decision-making process.
That's awesome. And I feel like it's also really valuable to know how to cook, right? And know how to stay inspired on what to make, right? Because I feel like here we are in this conversation on stay sparked. How do we stay sparked to eat, in ways that really help us feel good and feel fueled, and not just like eat boiled chicken?
Mm.
Like I feel like that's been the biggest thing for me on my journey of making these choices is finding recipes that are really delicious, that are really healthy, that are balanced, that are easy as well. Like I have probably 4 or 5 specific ones that I really love to use and modify, and depending on the season as well, right? In Ayurveda, there is so much insight and information around different types of foods for different times of year. More warming foods in the colder months and lighter foods in the warmer months. Different hearty salads and superfoods and different types of proteins. And I feel like that has really helped, especially in a busy lifestyle, right? I mean, I don't have kids, but I can imagine what people that have kids like trying to eat healthy and maintaining and always have stuff on stock. So for me, my personal spark is to make big batches of things that are going to last for a few days that I can modify and change up and keep me going. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, I agree with all that. And there was also the switch. I want to talk about this for a brief moment because I think I know where you guys are coming from on this, but I think it's worth conversing about the switch from conventional to organic or to non-GMO. Did you make that switch? And if you did, what were the results of making that switch? How did you feel about making that switch? For me, it was a thing where it's just I would always see how much more expensive often organic was than the other stuff, and I was like, well, is it worth it? Can I afford that? This and the other thing. But when I made the mental switch, like, all right, I just need to switch and eat mostly organic, and I found that I was able to, like, when I just was like, all right, this is what I'm doing now, I was able to, miraculously afford it. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh, I can do this, and I felt the difference. Whether that was placebo effect or not, whatever, it kind of doesn't matter. I felt the difference of eating mostly, if not all, organic. So I never looked back. I've been probably doing that for close to 10 years now, and it's the thing. I'm not a stickler about it because eating out for dinner is usually not organic when you go to a restaurant, that's fine. But when I'm cooking myself, and Betsy, your tip about really getting your 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 mindset around cooking for yourself is a big one. That definitely helps control the quality of the food you're getting in your body. But yeah, paying attention to organic has been a big boost for me. So how about you guys?
That's good for me to
Absolutely.
hear.
Yep.
I am not a stickler, and in fact, I'm. There are certain leafy vegetables and things that I at one point heard some or saw some list about here. The dirty 13, and like certain vegetables are more apt to retain or have pesticides and things on it, and other ones are less likely to be impacted by non-organic farming. And so I'm kind of looser about some vegetables and fruits than others. But it is I'm not strict on it, and hearing your results, maybe I will be a little stricter about it.
Mm, yep, I definitely made the switch. I'm really grateful I did too. And I went through the same process. It's so much more expensive. And what's the difference, anyways? Am I going to really notice a big difference? And then I slowly started to shift. And same as you, is like, actually, I can afford this. And I noticed a difference in taste. I noticed a difference also in my moral considerations around what are the farmers doing? Right? If there's people out there that are farming and putting pesticides and all kinds of GMOs on the food that they're growing, what is their consideration around the earth and the, care of the actual earth? And to me, that's what really is important to consider, that there's these people out there that really care and they are doing things in sustainable ways and not just trying to do it in bigger, better, more ways. And so, yeah, I try and, also pay attention to the dirty dozen or dirty 13, whatever you call it, certain ones that are more important to pay attention to. Same thing with meats. I also find I have a sort of a rule of thumb. I don't usually eat meat from restaurants because you just don't know
Hmm.
what kind of hormones and things like that are put into these animals. And it's like, if I can go without it, okay. And so, yeah, I feel like that is a big consideration. It's not easy. it's not always easy to be in that mindset, but after some time, it does get easier. Mhm.
Yeah, some shifts are definitely easier than others. So, but as long as we're feeling good about it, it could be, and it's, you know, and a lot of things doing, it's important to kind of remember that a lot of things that are worth doing are not easy to do. So
Mhm.
it comes into tapping into that sort of like, you know, commitment and sort of mindset and that discipline mindset to,
Mhm.
okay, I'm doing this for myself. And again, that's something that has gotten easier as I've gotten older, because I'm able to see the benefits. I'm able to to know that I'm reaping the benefits. So one good decision and seeing the results of one good decision really does feed the, you know, quality decisions to come after that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I feel like you're talking about mindfulness. And I think we, are all kind of speaking about mindfulness throughout this conversation. And I think that as we're getting closer to completion of this conversation, and maybe we'll close it up with some closing sparks. And since I got one brewing around mindful eating, I feel like that is such an incredible resource. There's so many books, there's so much research, there's so many beautiful practices that encourage mindfulness while eating. I started getting into it a couple of years ago and started to practice these different things like just pure presence when tasting food and chewing food and swallowing food. I even got so inspired, I created an audio affirmation called Mindful Eating, and it just uses affirmations to help program the mindset around the whole process: smelling the food, bringing the food to the mouth, chewing for an extended period of time, swallowing it before taking another bite. And I noticed listening to those affirmations really helped me to start to, yeah, not shovel things in or, be multitasking while I'm eating. And yeah, so I'll say my closing spark is mindful eating.
I love that. Yeah, I think my grandfather would say grace before every meal, and it wasn't like a thank you God. It was just thank you, like an opportunity to be thankful for the food that's in front of you. And since eating is something that we do every day, it's a great opportunity to take a pause and infuse some gratitude and some mindfulness into whatever you're doing. I think the spark that I wanted to close with is just, I find that the most impactful part of my dieting choices is when I'm shopping. I have to make my good decisions while I'm at the grocery store, because that's a single moment in time that I can be, yes, good choices. If I make a bad choice and I get, a bunch of chocolate that I'll just save for a rainy day, I can make good choices all day long, and then one slip, and suddenly I'm, oh, I do have that chocolate that I was saving. And so if I don't have it in the house, there's a good chance that I will make it through those weak moments. On the other hand, if I do have, like I just realized that I just ate the last of my baking chocolate chips because that was the only chocolate I had around, but, and so I'm like, do I replace the chocolate chips for the next time I bake, or do I just make sure that I keep the house clean from temptation? So shopping is where all my dieting has to happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be bad mouthing chocolate. I love chocolate.
Oh, we know how it feels about chocolate. I feel the same. And I feel like my closing spark really is about, I just have to kind of beat the drum about mindfulness, about around our eating choices. It's the whole like realm of food and how we interact with food. It's so easy to be on autopilot with this because we've been eating our whole lives, and so it's just one of those things like, oh, it's just, I'm hungry, I'll just eat whatever. And the more like thinking I have around this area, the more mindfulness I apply to it. Like when like housing, like you say, shopping, and really having that moment, or making a moment of, being mindful about what I'm getting, and then when I'm eating, like Betsy is saying, that it was a really fantastic thing to like sit with a meal and really pay attention to the flavors and the texture and how it feels and how certain combined bites feel. And I've just gotten a lot of, the idea of setting myself up for success and being mindful around food and how I think about it and how I approach it and the stuff that I bring home just kind of sets me up for success. I'm able to have one good choice follows another and follows another. And I've gotten to a point in my life where my relationship with food is, I feel pretty healthy as a result. Moderation, like I still like my French fries. I still like the other stuff as well, but I'm able to be mindful about it. Be like, yeah, I've had been good all week. I'll have some French fries today. And
Mhm.
yeah, and so yeah, mindfulness around it's just the fun.
Yes, I'm laughing because just the other day I was like, I really want some French fries. Why do I want some French fries? I really want some French fries. Go have some freaking French fries. I went to this restaurant and had a really amazing thing of French fries, and I was like eating them, fully enjoying them, thinking about all the other things I ate for the other part of the day. It was like all this superfood and healthy stuff. I was like, okay, girl, you deserve this. Don't feel guilty about it. Go for it. Yeah, it's mindfulness and everything in moderation,
Yes.
including moderation, right?
Yeah. So
All right. Well, thank you guys for having this conversation. Hopefully, you guys out there are feeling sparked, maybe feeling a little hungry as well. Love to close it up with a little inspiration on where you guys can find more of our work in the world and our voices. So, Halcyon, you want to share a little peek into where people can find you?
Yes, you can find links to my daily gratitude circles and morning broadcasts and t-shirt store all at johnston.com, JOHNSTYN.
cool. And
Amazing.
as I mentioned, I've got a nutritional supplement company called NuWorld Nutritionals. It's spelled NuWorldNutritionals.com. We have a bunch of products that are designed to help with all things, about mindfulness, about improving your mental state and alleviating symptoms of anxiety, depression, ADHD, even PTSD. Dementia, other types of things. We're getting a lot of good results for a lot of good people, all mushroom-based products, and you can use the code SPARKED to get 10% off of all of our products.
For those people that don't like to eat mushrooms because the mouthfeel is disgusting. The powdered version, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you guys can find me on poweraffirmation.com and on the socials, Betsy Who on Instagram. I am a holistic healing arts practitioner and I inspire people with mindfulness practices. I'm a coach with embodiment practices, meditation, movement. I love getting to help people to get in right relationship with their thoughts using the Power Affirmation Journal. And I run some courses online, also do all kinds of wonderful retreats and lots of ways of spreading the sparks of staying happy, staying joyful, and navigating life's challenges with as much ease as possible. And eating is a part of that. So yeah, check out poweraffirmation.com. And there's also in the show notes, a free gift for an audio affirmation for mindful eating. So check it out and we'll close it out with an affirmation, shall we?
Yes, please.
All right, awesome. So affirmations are statements to help focus the mind and really help us to choose mindfully on how we want to think and feel. And so if you like, you can close your eyes. Of course, if you're not driving, take a nice deep breath and repeat these affirmations. I choose mindfully what I consume. I choose mindfully what I consume. I choose mindfully what I consume. I make mindful choices on my eating habits. I make mindful choices on my eating habits. I make mindful choices on my eating habits. I am present. I am purposeful. I am passionate. I am present. I am purposeful, and I am passionate. I am inspired and sparked. I am inspired and sparked. I sure hope you guys are. I sure am. So thank you for listening. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. So leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and we will keep staying sparked.
Stay spark, people. Thanks for listening.